Alright, in this video we're going to just briefly go over how to get started with Autodesk Inventor Professional 2022. First we're going to click on our eye icon and we're going to let Inventor open up. Okay, so you may see a screen like this minus all the various files that I have here when you get started. You might also wind up with a different getting started splash screen. Really depends on where where your software is, if you've opened it before or not. We're going to start by clicking on New Part. The way Inventor works is you design each separate piece of something separately so that they're all individual part files, and then when you want to make an assembly, multiple pieces together, you then assemble the part files inside of an assembly file. And from there you can produce drawings or 3D renderings and things like that. But we're just going to start with a part. Click on that, let it open up. Okay, so this is our base screen. Few things to note here. One, we've got our ribbon up top. You see our ribbon has various tabs. We're primarily going to focus on the first three tabs: 3D Model, Sketch, and a little bit of Annotate, although we don't really need to do much with that in this particular tutorial right now. On the left we have our browser window. That is very important. We use it a lot. We defer to it constantly, so you do need to keep this pulled up. If you accidentally were to close it, you can always go to View, User Interface, and then, like I said, that's called the browser, model browser. So right there, just check that off. So back to 3D Model. Okay. Get started. To generate three-dimensional objects, what we do typically is we start with a two-dimensional shape, and then we can do various things with that. In order to understand what to do and where to put a two-dimensional shape in a three-dimensional Cartesian coordinate system, we need to understand where we are in that system. And that's where this view cube comes into play. So it looks like a square right now that just says front, but if I click the upper right corner, you can see it tips into an isometric view where we see front, right, and top. Now, in the middle, it appears that nothing has changed. However, we have tipped our view a little bit. The best way to find out what we did, I find, is to go over to our browser here on the left and click on the plus next to Origin. This is a good way to start every drawing. We're going to select the YZ plane right here. Okay, and we could one at a time right-click and then check visibility so we can see each plane. You see the icon has turned orange instead of gray. Or, better yet, we can select YZ plane and hold Shift on our keyboard and click on center point, left click on that, let go of Shift. So now you can see all of these have been chosen, and just right click on any one of them and check visibility. So now we can see we've got some kind of a shape here. What I'm going to do is zoom in with my scroll wheel on my mouse, and it's inverted compared to AutoCAD, so might take you a second. But the same thing, we can click and hold with our center mouse wheel to pan, so we can move this around. And then if we click and drag on our view cube, you can sort of see the idea of moving about in three-dimensional space. If we ever want to get back to that original isometric view, we can also press F6 on our keyboard. Watch what happens when I press F6 on the keyboard. Okay, it's now returned us back to that original orientation. You can see we have three different planes we can work with here. That's how we're going to start. The basic theory of Inventor is that we take a two-dimensional shape and we can either extrude it. So if we hover over this, it'll give us a little explanation of extrude, where we again draw a two-dimensional shape and sort of pull it up into the third dimension and give it some depth. We could revolve, where we draw again, a two-dimensional shape and spin it around an axis. And that can be connected in the center or not. If I wanted to draw like a hula hoop, I'd have the axis in the middle and then a circle way out away from the center axis. And then we'd swing that and create a donut or a hula hoop type shape. If I wanted to create a wheel that had a center connection, I would have the center piece touching the center axis that we were swinging it around. And there's other things like sweep. Again, all I'm doing is hovering over these various menu options to see what it does. Here we're taking a two-dimensional profile and having it follow a path. That could be two-dimensional or three-dimensional to create, kind of a whatever type of a snake type shape. Loft takes two-dimensional shapes and kind of converges them, or sometimes more than two. And we got a few other details here that we don't need to spend much time on in the first video. The other theory of Inventor is that you want to do each step of a process, each feature of something, one step at a time. So if I wanted to draw something that had a few holes, a projection, let's draw something like our cylinder mount. So we have a base and then a three-dimensional projection and some holes. So if I wanted to draw a base plate of something, I'd probably start with the XZ plane. Left click on the edge of it, and you see a little button comes up that says Create Sketch. I can also click the Create Sketch button up here. And we can just click on, you see a new menu comes up that says Sketch. So we're now in sketch mode, a two-dimensional mode. And we're just going to click and click to draw a rectangle. Notice I didn't type any dimensions. If I want to dimension something to a specific size, I can click on an edge with the dimension tool here, active. And let's say I wanted this to be 1.5 inches. I could do that. And another 1.5 inches, we could do that. Okay, so that's pretty good. If I want to center this up, I could also dimension from the center point to an edge. And the cool thing is this thing will actually reference other dimensions. So I could, while this box is open, I can click this dimension and say, okay, divided by 2. And that automatically centers it left to right. So if I ever change this dimension to, say, 3, you see it automatically updates this one. Bring that back down to 1.5. And the same thing goes for our vertical dimension here. You can say that divided by 2. The other thing we could do for this original dimension is say it's equal to that. So that if I ever update this to say 3, it automatically recenters the entire square. I don't have to change anything. So here we have a centered square. We can then finish our sketch, which is what I just did. Click that Finish Sketch button. And then we're going to hit Extrude. It automatically knows that I have one closed shape. You need a closed profile here. If I go back here, cancel, and I were to go back into my Edit Sketch mode here, and I had, let's say, another set of lines here like this. I don't know, bring it around. You'll notice that these lines are not creating a closed shape. So when I click Finish Sketch, I can click Extrude. You notice it's still automatically selecting this. I can't select these lines over here because there's no closed shape there. So I need a closed shape. Right click, Edit Sketch, and then I can just remove those lines that I just had by highlighting them. This is a click and drag function, so highlight and then just hit delete on the keyboard. Finish the sketch, press F6, and then extrude, and let's say we want to make this, I don't know, 0.5 thick. Okay, there's a lot of different options with extrude. I'm not going to get into it. Let's build up something in the middle here. So now every flat surface is now a plane I can sketch on, or I can eventually create other planes. I could make one way out here. But we need somewhere to draw our next sketch, and it has to be a flat surface. So let's say right on the top here, and we're going to click New Sketch. You see it automatically orients me to face that. And maybe I want, let's make something that's like half a rectangle and half a circle. So We'll draw a rectangle, and then we will draw a circle, and then we'll draw maybe another circle here, and we're just going to use trim. Okay, trim for this software, we just press the letter X, and that's it. Or we can push the button up here. There's no enter, there's no nothing for that. It is modal, however. You can see the button is still highlighted, so I can hit escape, and it will bring me out of the trim command. And again, if I want to center this up, I can put a dimension between my two circles here, say 0.7. Again, I'm just kind of making up these dimensions, and we're going to say from here to here is that divided by 2. So we know it's centered up. And then from here to here is going to be, actually, let's go back. We'll leave that there. We'll set our width, so we'll dimension from here to here, make that 0.375, and then we'll say this dimension is that, so I'm clicking it, divided by 2 again. And that'll center us up on our center point here, and we'll hit Finish Sketch. And now I can again extrude that up. It's automatically doing that. If I wanted to remove a material in that shape, I actually just go to Output and then switch from Join to Cut. You'll see it actually, is removing material now instead of the other direction. We want to add that, and then I can draw a sketch on this face. I could put something like a point here to finish the sketch. Then I can use, say, the hole tool, and now it finds that point, and now I can tell it all about the hole that I need drilled in this, 1/4 inch. Right now it's set to go through all. If I set that, again, I can do lots of things with the hole tool here, but one thing we need to notice as we're going, we're building this up one piece at a time. If I wanted to do a fillet in here, a round, I could use the fillet tool. Again, we're in 3D model. We don't have a sketch open right now. So we can go to fillet. We can tell it our radius is 0.05. And all we do is click the edges we need to fillet. It's previewing that. We can click OK. All right. So that's how the basics of how we use Inventor. Just build up bit by bit, draw the shapes, then dimension them after the fact. Make sure we relate everything back. And the cool thing is, if I want to change any of these features that I have, I can just right-click on each of them. So Extrusion 1, I could hit Edit Sketch and go back. I can update that one key dimension. Maybe later I want to say, oh, I need that base to be 4. So I can make it 4, and then click Finish Sketch, and it updates. You see it automatically made a bigger base for us to work with, which would give me a lot more real estate to make any features that I needed there. Later on, if I wanted to change the type of hole, the shape of the hole that I wanted, I kind of hit Edit Feature instead of Edit Sketch, because the sketch is just the location of the hole. Maybe I want a 0.3125 hole instead. Click OK, and I've just increased the diameter of the hole that gets drilled through there. Again, Extrusion 2, if I wanted to change the shape of that, quite easy to do. That's why building things up one piece at a time makes life a little bit easier in Inventor, because you can edit each feature, each three-dimensional thing separately. If I had a pattern of holes that were all the same, I'd do them all at once. But again, if I had like 6 different shapes and sizes of holes in this plate, I would probably do each one that was the same size and shape. I do all those together and then do the next set and the next set all as separate hole features. That way we had a big list of features and they're all separately editable. So that is the basics of getting started in Inventor. If I wanted to delete things, say I wanted to remove the hole, I just right click here and hit delete and then remove that. Alright, that's all there is to it.